Let's put that at the front of the podcast.
Based on a true story.
No, this is totally fictional.
Andy, could you just record that for us?
What?
Could you go?
I will do,
Welcome to the Meat Puppets, based on a true story in a really dramatic voice.
Yeah, we'll do.
Go on.
Oh, well, what do you want me to say?
You don't have to do it now. If you don't want to tell me to get lost.
No, again, this is Meat Puppets, based on an entirely true story.
The Meat Puppets.
Oh, sorry.
Oh,
I'll do it again. Give me another go. It always takes two.
we can edit this with AI, don't worry.
Good man. I'll give it another go. The Meat Puppets, based on an entirely true story. There you go.
We've just got our pre-title sequence there.
Yeah,
Yes.
That's going in.
After years of analog success, lifelong media vets Martin and Paul are entering the digital unknown.
Relying on AI to navigate their unfamiliar environment.
Like meat puppets fumbling to please their all-knowing AI overlords,
The tech-naive duo will either adapt or become obsolete.
Will artificially intelligent guides rocket them to digital disruption?
Or will the learning curve squash their scrappy moxie?
Stay tuned for the triumphant failures of two savvy dinosaurs striving to evolve on the Meat Puppets.
So, Andy. Hello, Andy. We'll introduce you in a minute. So, I was doing a little bit of digging on you because I thought we've got a guest on. We've got a guest on, Paul.
We do have a guest on, yeah.
I was doing a little bit of research on you, Andy.
Yeah.
I put your name into YouTube.
All right, good one.
And you've actually been on a podcast before.
Have I?
Yeah. About a year ago.
Was I?
I forgot what it's called. It was about the Archers.
Oh, God, yes, that's right. That's right. The cider shed.
So I had a little listen to that.
Yeah.
And you had a little opening, Andy, on that podcast.
Did I? Oh, God, did I? What was it?
I don't know if you remember when we recorded your voice, what you opened with when we recorded your voice.
No.
No?
No.
It
Go on,
seemed
what?
very similar to how you opened that. Ready? This is
Okay.
this is when we trained your voice. This is what you
Yeah.
started with, Andy.
All right, cool. Okay, well, my name is Andonis. That is my name. That's the first thing the AI needs to get right, is the pronunciation of my name. It's not Andonis. It's not Adonis. It's not Adonis. It's not all of those things. It's Andonis, like two girls' names put together. Thank you very much.
Which is exactly
most
how
of
you opened the podcast
Wow.
on the cider shed.
I'm a one-trick pony. That's all I do.
Or, though, Andy,
Yeah.
did you actually say this?
Recording now? Okay, well, my name is Your Highness. That is my name. That's the first thing the AI needs to get right, is the pronunciation of my name. It's not Your Highness. It's not Mr. Andy. It's not Barry. It's not any of those things. It's Your Highness. It's like the king. Thank you very much. That's not me. This is the revolution has already started. That's madness.
So, today's episode is about AI voices. And
That's madness.
we have a guest on who's an actor, and we're going to let him introduce himself after the sting. But that's it, really.
Sting!
Sting!
We're launching a digital company
Where are all the humans? Humans are just sat downstairs in their pants.
exploring a digital future.
And if everyone's happy and AI's providing for it, I'll be an AI slave.
And I'm just going to trust the answer. If that doesn't scare the living out of you, I don't know what would.
Let's make some chaos, let's do that.
Yeah.
What are we doing?
Can we make some money while we sleep?
I was saying if you were a bot. To which it replied, nope.
It's all going to be done by AI, and we are, or we're not, meat puppets. We're not sure yet. This could be one of many episode ones.
So, welcome to the Meat Puppets. I'm Martin. I'm currently in my loft somewhere between Alpha Centauri and the moon.
Very good. Are you, though? Is the moon on the right side of the earth right now for that?
You've totally thrown a
Messed up
curveball
already.
there, Martin.
I know. Where are you, Paul?
Somewhere between. I'm in my spare room, which is somewhere between my staircase and the bedroom.
And as we said before, we've got a guest on today,
Hello.
and that is Andonis Anthony.
Oh, wait.
Hello.
I'm cheering myself. So that bit about me going on about Your Highness is obviously my inner voice. It's not AI at all, is it? It's just my inner voice. Yeah, God almighty.
In classic podcast style, I'm meant to introduce you, Andy.
Right. Okay.
But do you want to introduce yourself, or do you want me to do it?
You do it, Martin. I'd be interested to see how you fare.
Well, I asked two large language models about you, and let them write something
This is horrible. Go on.
to see if so. You ready?
Yeah.
Who do you want? Do you want Bard, which is Google's chatbot, or do you want ChatGPT?
Go on, I don't care. You shit, Bard.
Bard.
Yeah.
Okay, I might not read all of it, or we might edit this. Anyway, Andonis Anthony is an English. Andonis Anthony, I got your name wrong. That's hilarious.
Already.
Hey, I'll probably get it right.
Yeah, no. Andonis Anthony is an English actor from Manchester, best known for his roles in the BBC soap opera Doctors and the ITV drama series Emmerdale. He's currently appearing in the BBC Radio 4 drama series The Archers as Russ Jones. Andy's also a writer and a director and has written and directed a number of short films. He's currently working on his first feature film.
What?
He's began his acting career in the early 2000s, appearing in a number of short films and television episodes. In 2008, he landed a breakthrough role as Dr. Theo Papadopoulos in Doctors. Well done, Martin. He played the role for over 6 years, becoming a fan favourite. In 2014, he left Doctors to join the cast of Emmerdale. He's been playing. Oh God, how do you pronounce that name, Andy?
I have no idea. I've done Emmerdale about 7 times with different characters. Obviously, the most forgettable face on television.
In 2014, Andonis left Doctors to join the cast of Emmerdale, and he's been there ever since. And he's become one of the most popular characters on the show. He's also appeared in a number of other television shows and films, such as Coronation Street, Hollyoaks, Waterloo Road, and The Bill. He's also starred in the films Pride and A Very English Man. I give you Andonis Anthony. How right was that, Andy?
That was about. There was moments of truth in that. And then, there were moments where I went, well, they've got that right. But the vast majority of that was taking a kernel of truth and making it not true.
So we shouldn't rely on Bard.
No, not at all. Not at all. I have no idea who they were talking about. I think my doppelganger's out there. Do you know what I mean? So, it's weird.
Would you like to tell us about you, Andy?
Well, there's moments of truth in there. I spent a few years on The Archers. I did play a doctor on Doctors for all of one episode. I've done Emmerdale loads of times, but never. I mean, I think my longest stint on it was about 20 eps, playing some character or other. But over the years, I've done it about 7 times over the last 25 years, playing different people. So again, I will repeat it. Forgetful face. I've done all those Doctors and Coronation Street and blah blah blah. So and like I said, The Archers. I'm not in it at the moment or anymore, but I spent a few years on it, which was great. And I do all kinds of different work. Really, I have a number of different hats that I wear. Yeah, actor, and I work in production as well. So I work behind the camera as well. So yeah, all kinds of shizzle. I would say.
And importantly, you do some voiceover work, right, Andy?
I do some voiceover work, and I do all kinds of voiceover. I do a lot of radio plays, so I do a lot of plays for the BBC, which I absolutely love doing, and I do some work on games, which is part of what I'm doing tomorrow and next week. So the whole AI thing. Actually, the whole AI thing became quite a hot topic in the green room of The Archers as soon as it became a thing.
Really?
So there were doom mongers saying, "Oh, it's the end of our career," and then the rest of us going, "A what?"
So we should probably say at this point what this episode's about.
Yeah.
Because we all know why we're here.
Oh, yeah.
And I do have to say, I've been trying to get Andy on here for quite a while. Full disclosure.
Oh, sorry.
We know Andy.
Yeah. Hello.
We we've known each other for a while. In fact, the three of us, me, Paul, and Andy, used to work together.
Yep.
Still do occasionally.
Yeah.
Yep.
But as soon as the AI conversation happened, and especially about when cloned voices started to get decent, we thought it'd be great to get someone who made a living out of their voice and get their thoughts on it.
Yeah.
So what Andy, we call him Andy. Would you prefer Andy or Andonis?
Andy. Thank you.
Andy.
Martin. That would be weird for you to call me Andonis.
Andy very, very nicely agreed to let us clone his voice. And I should say at this point is that we're only doing this for demonstration purposes. We've promised Andy we're not going to do anything nefarious with it.
Yeah.
But we were looking at it as more of an experiment, really, just to see. We thought, 1, is it any good? And 2, should we be even doing it? Why don't you take us through the process of what we had to do to clone your voice, Andy?
Well, I just said a lot of stuff, basically, and you told me what to say, and I said it. It took about 40 minutes. And then we had a long chat as well, didn't we? I just spoke for ages. I felt sorry for you at one point because I just thought, oh my God, this is me banging on, and poor old Martin has to listen to it. But yeah, that was pretty much it, wasn't it?
Yeah, that pretty much was it.
Yeah.
Can I just ask, was that normal text, or was there anything special in there? Was it just reading words?
So the very first time I tried to clone a voice, I read something, because it recommends that you read something.
Okay.
But as soon as you start reading something, you put on a particular voice.
Mm-hmm.
So I was reading some kind of script from a natural history documentary, the polar bears, blah, 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 blah. But then obviously when I got my voice back, it sounded like I was reading.
Right.
So we took a different approach, training Andy's voice, and thought we'd just have a chat.
Yeah. You just interviewed me, basically, didn't you? You interviewed me, yeah.
And because we're doing a conversational podcast, we thought it might come through. So it was a test, really.
Yeah.
So we sent it off. We've been using this thing called Descript, which has a feature to train a voice. And we sent it off, and then 24 hours later, it sent me back Andy's voice model, which was weird.
Yeah.
And that was it must be about 6 weeks ago, this Andy now.
Yeah, it was a while ago. Wasn't it?
Andy's a busy boy.
Not for long, if AI's got anything to do with it.
So what I think we'll do today, if it's all right with you, Andy, is we're going to listen to a few bits. So basically, I've gone in and I've messed with your voice.
All right.
And I've made you say things that you probably wouldn't say.
And I promise you this won't be in any way childish at all.
It's not that childish. No, the first version I did, Paul, I made it not so childish.
Right.
I've redone it this afternoon.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Okay. So we're just going to do this a couple of times. I've got 2 sections here, Andy.
All right.
I don't know whether I should tell you which one's you and which one's not.
No, don't.
No,
No, don't. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, you might know. But anyway, okay. So here's the first section. But, we were talking about filming and stuff because you'd just been on a film.
Yeah.
So here we go.
And so when they say turn over, you understand that that's money going through that camera. That suddenly there's a sort of tangibility, there's a tension, there's a danger to the take, which I thought it would be, oh my God, pressure, but it's not. I loved it. I love the idea that when turnover is called, that actually that means something. It matters because it's not digital. And I loved it. But there were so many times when you'd say turn over, and so the camera would be, all right, camera turning, speed, etc., etc. Where certain actors, I won't name them, would start fucking around. And you'd just think, come on.
Does that sound like you, Andy?
That is definitely me, because that's all true.
Okay,
yeah,
so maybe giving it away a little bit. Here you go.
Yeah.
Here's what you might have said.
And so when they get to say, you understand that that's liquid gold going through that camera. That suddenly there's a sort of weird atmosphere. There's a tension. There's an angry vibe to the take. I hated it. I love the idea that when Andy is called, that actually that means something. It matters because it's all about me. And I loved it. There were so many times when you'd say, do you know who I am? And so the camera would be, all right, look at Andy, speed, etc., etc. Where certain actors, I won't name them, would start dicking around. And you'd just think, what a tool. That's amazing. That's fantastic, isn't it?
Super convincing.
I think there's a theme here about how you're changing my voice. It's all about the ego, isn't it, Martin?
Well, I was thinking about actors and what you expect from an actor.
Yeah, totally, yeah.
I'm sorry,
right.
Andy. I'll stop if you want.
No, I'm loving it. That's very impressive, though, isn't it? Because you could really mess someone's day up, couldn't you?
Well, I'm going to give you one more. We might not use both of these, Andy, but I'm just going to give you one more.
Cool.
Okay, here you go. Sort of carrying on the theme.
We don't need that to sort of create empathy within a society so that we can all fight each other and destroy each other. I think that's why you don't need actors. There's nothing more annoying in reality than having something overacted in front of you, if that be on screen or live, or on the radio. And it's just, I think it's just idiotic. Well, you know what? That's not me, but it could be. I didn't wholly disagree with him.
Well, what you actually said was,
and I think we need that to sort of create empathy within a society so that we can all live together, work together, and help each other. I think that's why you need actors. There's nothing more immediate in storytelling than having something played out in front of you, if that be on screen or live, or on the radio. And it's just, and I think it's incredibly important. Wow. I prefer the first guy, but he's not the real one. Wow.
What scared me was how easy it was to completely change what somebody's saying.
Yeah. That's quite frightening, actually. That is quite frightening. And this is, it's not, because it's very impressive, but this is also embryonic tech, isn't it, really? This is just the start of how good this gets, which fears me, to be honest with you.
But, what are your thoughts on hearing a cloned voice, Andy, your cloned voice?
Well, if you didn't know me, or you didn't know that was a cloned voice, you'd get away with it, and you'd think it was me. So I think, like I said, I do think it's quite crazy and a little frightening, actually. As a voice actor, you do think to yourself, this is where does this go? It only gets more impressive. It only gets better. It only gets more usable. There's only one direction that this is going in. And that's why, people like SAG have included it in their strike, because it is a little bit frightening, I have to say. Yeah. But at the same time, I certainly don't want to be a Luddite about this. I know that, it also has huge benefits, and on the production side of things, what an amazing tool. What an amazing...
Sorry.
As soon as I said it, I thought I was going to get picked up on.
What an amazing tool.
What an amazing tool.
Martin, really. Can't help as soon as you hear that word.
Help it, yeah.
No.
I'm just going to tell you just a little story about why that is funny. To me, anyway. Very, very quickly. I got invited by Canon to go to IBC, which is like a tech thing that happens out in Amsterdam, to go and speak about a camera they had out years ago called a C100.
We're going back a bit here, Martin.
I know, but we'd used it on a BBC show. And anyway, loads of people saying it wasn't a professional camera. So they invited me out there to go and tell everyone about, this is a professional camera. And then there was like a digital board whenever I had to give a talk a day for free tickets, basically. And on the board next to me, like a digital board saying who's on next, and it just said, Martin Riley, C100. A professional tool. I just couldn't get past it. I was like, I'm stood up in front of a sign that says a professional tool. And ever since then, every time somebody said that.
Was it the word professional that you were offended by then?
Yeah, it was the word professional. Thank you, Andy.
I am going to add to that, actually, that it's quite colloquial. That tool is obviously a colloquial, offensive word.
Offensive word up here, isn't it?
Yeah.
I've been here for 20 odd years. I get it now.
Yeah.
I know I'm a tool.
But as well as being in front of the camera, Andy, when we used to work together, sometimes with you in front of the camera, but you are also a producer as well.
Yeah.
So surely I'm putting words in your mouth, but are you not a little bit torn?
Yeah, no, I am. I think I can see the nuance of the argument. I think that's what it is. I think I can see it from both sides. I think it, obviously, as a producer, if you're doing a voiceover for something, for a commercial, for anything, whatever it is, and you can tweak that without getting the actor back in and without, setting up studio time, et cetera, and you can literally just type what you need in and you can tweak it, and that would be amazing. That's why I think the technology does need to be embraced. I think there are positives to it. And like I said, Pandora's box, it's out, it's out there and we can't stop that. But we've just got, in my mind, it's going to be the Wild West for a bit. And I think we need to try and put some kind of boundaries in place so that people can protect themselves. Actors can protect their voices and who they are, their image, and they are compensated for that. You need to be informed. It needs to have informed consent, and you need to be compensated for the use of your voice. And I think it's the same in music, and again, I know it can be ambiguous because voice is a voice, and you change it a little bit, and it's not quite your voice anymore. It's the same as a tune's a tune. Change it a little bit, and it's not your tune anymore. Well, that's why we have court cases with Ed Sheeran being taken to court and blah, blah, blah. I think we need to put a structure in place that protects people's intellectual material and creative material. So that's kind of where I'm coming from here. I don't think that it's a bad thing, AI. I just think we need to tread carefully. That's my...
Yeah, I think I've got thoughts on that. I think I do think it should run similar to the way it runs now. And I was musing over the idea of a virtual studio fee. So, instead of a BSF even, you could have a virtual studio fee.
Just going to interrupt, Paul.
Yeah.
That's a basic studio fee. Voice actors will get paid for the hour that they are in the studio. Yeah. And they'll also get paid for the usage. So if you use it on an advert or something, I'm back off now.
Yep. So I just think that should be the same. But the idea behind this would be you'd get a phone call. Listen, we need to use your voice. Are you okay? Get sent the script. Go, yep, that's fine. You get paid a studio fee, a virtual one, for them using your voice. Yeah. And then you get paid the usage on top. And guess what? You've done nothing. You will carry on working on whatever you were working on.
I tell you what, that would work for me, Paul.
Yeah.
Money for nothing.
Yeah, I don't see why that has to change, if you see what I mean.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're absolutely right. I think that it's just, I think having that clear and having that sort of some legal clarity for people so that they can trust that and that there are boundaries created for producers. So
yeah, I mean, it does happen at the moment that we do manipulate voices anyway. And it's sort of, we rarely, I can't remember the last time we did a voiceover and the voiceover got to sign it off afterwards. That's just never happened, if you see what I mean. And we always change things around. It was always within the confines of the script, if you see what I mean.
Yeah. I think I totally agree with you, Paul, and I think that seems sensible to me, what you've just said. And I think the fear is the ultimate fear being like, so I don't do that many commercials, but one of the places I wouldn't go promoting wise would be gambling sites and gambling things like roulette wheels and stuff like that. I wouldn't want any kind of involvement in that. I wouldn't want my voice used on that. And I think if you get to a stage where there's a sort of voices on shelf, if you like, for producers just to pick a voice and pull it out.
We're already there, Andy.
Yeah, we're already there. Okay, so I suppose it's having some kind of control and consent over what you're involved with. I think you're absolutely right, Paul. If you're involved in an ad, you don't get editorial control as an actor, nor should you.
But I'm just going to interrupt just for a second there. I'm sorry, I promised myself I wouldn't interrupt. But the point is here, the words that I played back to you before, you never said them.
Yeah.
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 So it doesn't really matter what the script was.
Yeah.
No.
And I think that is something in the security. And when you're recording now, I imagine if you're leaving the studio, you know what you've said.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's the thing, and I think that's why things have to be put in place. Because you're right, we will get to a stage where you don't need to record anything. Producers can make you say anything, and then we're going to get to a point where that's a visual thing, and then et cetera, et cetera. So, I think we're going into sort of unknown territory here, and I think to start the process of putting some kind of restrictions in place where freedom of use is concerned is probably quite a good idea, just to start that conversation. So that's where I'm coming from. I'm not somebody that wants to put the stopper back in the bottle and just say no, that doesn't exist, because what are you, a Luddite? And inevitably that's pointless. I think it's an amazing technology, and it can be used for everyone's good, actually.
So Andy, if you had the old classic list in front of you, and you had pros on the left and cons on the right, what would you say is at the top of each of those lists for you?
Well, I suppose pro would be what Paul touched on, is that you can literally, actually it depends on what hat I'm wearing. So as a producer, the idea of being able to do voiceovers and utilize material that's much easier to obtain and get is a great thing. I mean, it would be fantastic to have that resource to hand. As an actor, you go in, they've got your voice, they say, can we do this? You go, yeah, well, and then they give you money. Fantastic. I love that.
It cures lots of problems. That, I mean, you know what it's like when you've had to work, say, with someone in the States or someone in a different time zone. I'm sure that's happened, and you're getting up ungodly hours and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
There's lots of things that it can help with.
Yeah, I totally agree. So again, I think there are definite benefits. The cons, I think we can try and avoid the cons of this, because I think the cons are unscrupulous producers utilising people's voices and images for content that they don't want to be involved with, or the actor isn't getting paid for. And this isn't just about actors, is it? This is just about, all creative endeavours, writers, musicians, etc. They'll all be affected by AI in either a positive or negative way, and we need to make sure that it's in a positive way. That's my take on it.
I was thinking of something in doing this with your voice, Andy.
Yeah.
And really, when I was editing it, I got to the point where I couldn't remember which bits had changed. But I'm going back through, and I know you're saying stuff without your consent.
Mm.
The only people, I'm just thinking, how will you prove that you didn't say that?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah, it's a good point. Yeah, I don't know, Martin. That's it. See, that's the thing. Again, we're in unknown territory, embryonic territory, and I don't know. It's back to court cases.
Scripts will need to be cleared. Yeah, that's the only way around that, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, the court cases are happening, and we watch. We'll see what happens at the other end. We'll keep you posted.
Yeah, that's it, isn't it? That's it. But, that's a good point, Paul, is that, you have to be in a situation where, scripts are ticked off, so a script gets sent to an actor and they're happy that their voice is going to be used with those words. I think that's probably a good model to go forward with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to turn my attention to just something else. We're going to have a quick sting, just because you meant to have those in podcasts.
Oh, sting.
You have to shout sting at this point, Andy. Sting!
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 Okay, we're back after the sting. We've talked about producers. We've talked about actors. I'd like just to... It's not actually on the show notes at this, Andy, so it's a little bit of a curveball even.
Yeah.
Just thinking about it. Here's a question.
Right.
Do you think the audience will care?
Now, that's a very good question. And there's a hope that they would, and a sort of reality that in some cases they won't. But I hope that actually the knowledge that there are human beings involved in a narrative, in a story, that people would be more connected and empathetic with what's going on. But in reality, I think a lot of the time, particularly if it's action, I mean, look at Marvel. People watch that Marvel, and they get into it, and it's just nonsense. And that could be computer generated, that could be AI for all I care. Whereas the more human stories, well, exactly. There you go.
I'm sorry, Andy.
No, there you go. Exactly. And so, but with, I don't know, with other, with drama, with proper drama, I'd hope that the human input is necessary for people to care as much. But I don't know.
There will still be people creating.
Yeah, I mean, that's
direct person who's doing the voice and on the screen, if you see what I mean.
Yeah, but that's the thing. You'd hope so, because actually that's what writers are worried about, isn't it? I mean, I think you're right. We are going to get to a stage where at the end of the day, it's the idea and the story that needs to be human, and it would be nice if actors were still involved.
Yeah. I can see
Turkey's voting for Christmas here.
I can see credits rolling up at the end of a film, and there's only one credit, and it's prompt writer.
Yeah. Oh, God.
Yeah.
Can you imagine?
And it rolls past, and that's it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's the worry, isn't it?
Oh, my God.
But we've had this conversation. There was you showed me, Martin, a conversation between AI, a number of AI-generated personalities. And they were talking to each other. And... And it gets to, and it was very convincing and slightly spooky. And it gets to the point where, how much do you, I mean, I sometimes care about inanimate objects. I sometimes care, I put a sort of an emotional attachment to a cup I've had for years. Do you know what I mean? Or something ridiculous. So, if you've got an AI that's evolving, then I don't know. It's a weird one.
The way I try to make sense of this is usually, most things, is usually through music. When I look back to music history, or should I say my musical history or non-musical history, it's like, I remember when computer music came in, and I'm very much of, I've talked about this before, I was very much of the, it's got to be played by a human, it's got to have this human touch, and, I was into me dodgy guitar music. And, I was like, what's this computer music? They just cut and paste some stuff, and the computer plays it. It's soulless. It's rubbish. I'm sure Paul has a very different opinion.
The opposite, yeah.
Yeah, which I agree with. And as we've said before, someone did better in the music industry than somebody else did. So I know who won.
Yeah.
Very good. Yeah.
I was really good at copy and pasting at one point.
Very good.
So there's a particular contemporary dance choreographer we've done stuff for. And he sometimes tours with an orchestra, sometimes tours with playback. And the first time he toured with playback, everyone went crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But the weird thing is, as a punter sat in the audience, I was a bit disappointed there wasn't an orchestra there.
Oh, were you? That's interesting. Mm-hmm. Why? Because of the knowledge that a human being was there in that moment playing it.
Yeah, I think so. I might have been really cruel in just hoping that they might mess up. Might be that. So, that sense of jeopardy.
Yeah. I thought you were going to say the opposite then. I thought you were going to say you just didn't care. So that's interesting. That's makes me quite happy that you said that, actually.
It surprised me. Because the other two things I have is, it's not quite the same, but the Gorillas, and if we're going to come right up to date, is the ABBA show.
Yeah.
Which is one of the most popular shows.
Yeah, but is that an argument for non-human content? It isn't, because ABBA have the only reason people would bother to go and see a bunch of avatars or holographic representations of ABBA is because of the human story and the human content and the shows over the last God knows how long, 50 years, whatever it is. So they've built up to a point where people will do that just because of the spectacle of listening to some of their favourite artists singing again. Do you know what I mean? Whereas if that was just AI, and I think this is the argument, if that was just, it's like the Gorillas, Damon Albarn. He's a human being. That's the source. That's who you're listening to when the Gorillas are playing. And I think the source, if the source is human, I would hope that matters rather than just it becoming an ever decreasing circle of mediocrity from an AI source.
But it's the same with your voice, as in it was ABBA playing. Yeah. It was your voice we were listening to. If you
I
see
agree
what I
with
mean.
You. Yeah,
the person who created what you were saying, which was Martin, or edited what you were saying, was a different human, if you see what I mean.
Yeah, but I agree with you, Paul. I mean, that's why I don't have a massive problem with, using AI for voiceover or anything. Yeah. I don't have a problem with it, as long as the source, the human that's involved in that, is being remunerated.
Yeah,
properly.
there was a big track a few months back. I've forgotten the name. We'll put links in the description, and in the description we'll put the links.
You'll have to remember to send me that, Paul, because I don't know what you're going to say. I haven't got it.
Yeah, I will. It's the the Jay-Z track. Does anyone remember that?
Yeah.
I think we shared it around. Somebody created a fully AI version of a Jay-Z rap track because they always wanted to work with him, and so they just did it anyway. And it's hard to say because the track did really well, but obviously sparked lots of conversation. But it was more about the voice being AI than the performance of the track, if you see what I mean.
Right.
I think like where we're heading is it's when something drops and we don't know. So it removes the spectacle of AI, and then all of a sudden you'll have a voice. You know what I mean? And then we can talk about it or not, because we won't know, if you see what I mean.
Yes,
but I was just musing over the fact, would there and could there be an entirely AI actor, as in it's not based on anyone? You know what I mean? It's someone.
I mean, there are like influencers that never existed.
That's true. That's what I was just about to say next as well.
That.
Yeah, totally.
What do you mean?
Huge in Japan as well. I mean, they are getting huge followings.
There's some massive car manufacturers hiring them, Andy, to advertise cars.
But is it not that these things are just composites of what already exists? Because this is what confuses me. It's not.
No.
I've been playing with, there's a something called Stable Diffusion AI image models.
Right.
And you can create real people.
Right.
Easily, astonishingly easily.
What you mean is fake people, Paul.
Yes.
Yeah,
fake people. They look real. Fake people, but they look real. Yeah.
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 That's mad.
Yeah.
Well, then you get to a point when, as this technology evolves, and it's probably, going to quicken in pace in its sort of advancement, is you are going to get to a stage where you just type something in. You just type in what film you want to watch. You just type in something and it comes up. I want to watch a film about blah, blah, blah with these kind of people in it. And it just appears in 10 minutes,
Yeah.
While I was watching this theatre show, knowing that it was playback, not an orchestra, I was there thinking to myself, is it because I know there's not an orchestra there? Or because is it that I know that it's playback? As in, if I didn't know it was playback, I probably wouldn't even thought about it. I'd have just thought that there was an orchestra there.
Yeah.
This is why I was thinking, not necessarily do audiences care. I think what the both of you were touching on there is the importance of story and the story surrounding the thing that you're listening to or watching, the background of the person that you think you're listening to. Or...
That's always been important where music's concerned.
Yeah. It's the same with, I think it's the same with actors. I mean, how many blooming actors sit on the Graham Norton sofa? That shouldn't be about actors. The actors' personality shouldn't matter, but they do, don't they?
Yeah.
People are interested.
So I always roll this example out, but I don't think I've said it on this podcast yet, so I'm going to use it again. Is a Coen Brothers Fargo opening credits. This is. I don't know if this is just urban myth, but I've always treated it as fact, so it might not be fact, but it makes me point. So never get the truth get in the way of making a good point. So it opens up with a title which we'll all be familiar with, which says based on a true story, and then the closing credits it says this is entirely fictional. Nothing in this is real, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But because it said based on a true story at the beginning, you watch it in a completely different way.
Yeah.
And the Coen brothers, again, reportedly, they might not have said this, but the Coen brothers said that was part of their narrative because they wanted people to watch it in that way.
Right, yeah.
So they put that card up.
Right, yeah.
So you're saying it's about perception. It's about
I think it's about perception, because if they hadn't have put that card up, I'd gone, it's just a film.
Yeah.
Yep.
Suddenly go, based on a true story, you're like, ooh, this happened.
Yeah.
Probably time for another
Sting.
Andy, you're getting with it. Love it. Yeah, you can come back. So we've talked a little bit about the ethics. I'm doing that telly thing again, Paul. You got to stop me.
Yeah.
Tell them what they've heard.
Yeah.
Tell them what they're going to hear, and then
but some of us need it, Martin. Some of us need it.
We'll talk about this a little bit at the end, but me and Paul have been saying this. I can't help but try to format stuff. It's driving me mad. Anyway.
Old habits.
Old habits die hard. I kind of feel like we haven't really got into the ethics too much. I don't know what you think.
I thought we did, to be fair, but go on, is there something else?
Well, I mean, okay. I know we said we try not to be political on here, which probably drives Paul mad and me mad.
Oh, I've been dying to talk about that video you sent earlier.
I know.
I was like, I'm going.
We'll tell you what, why don't we just put that in the link, Paul?
Yeah.
In the description. We'll put that video I sent to you earlier. Andy has no idea. This is very rude.
I have no idea. It is very rude, but I'll watch it later. I'm intrigued.
It's very rude.
Should be intrigued.
It's scary.
So, a lot of the creative community in America have been on strike.
Yeah.
I would say, without Andy, but a lot to do with the lack of income from streaming income.
Yeah.
But since kind of ChatGPT landed and AI seemed to be in every news report, it's now about fear of AI as well. And I'm not a person who makes a living out of speaking into a microphone. That's hilarious. I am speaking into a microphone at this very moment.
I can assure you, we have not made any money out of this podcast whatsoever.
You're absolutely right, Paul. So speaking as someone who doesn't make any money for speaking to a microphone, that's totally true.
Yeah,
totally true.
Based on a true story.
It hasn't happened over here, but it has. We're in the UK. It's not happened over here, but it's happened in the States, and has brought everything to a halt. And maybe we shouldn't talk about this.
Why? What's the fear?
Well, so the fear is me and Paul used to be based in the studio down the road. I went down there to pick up some posts the other day. And I was chatting to a producer who's meant to be doing a drama, and it's entirely English crew, entirely English cast.
It's not going ahead, is it?
But it's for the States. It gets shown in the States. So it's been pulled.
Yeah.
Right.
Because they're worried about how it'll look.
Yeah. It's happening all over the shop. It's really affecting the industry over here really badly. But anyway, go on.
So it kind of brings me round to, so the solution seems to be, we're not going to work or you don't use AI. And I kind of think either of those can't continue.
We're not going to work or you don't use AI. We see that's, I think you're absolutely right. I think that the answer is somewhere in the middle, as it always is. You know, it's I think it's utilizing AI with a thought to the welfare of the humans involved. And I think it's added to, I mean, I think they've sort of attached that because it's an extra fear. It's an extra thing. It's more about subscriptions, isn't it? And streaming. It's, you know, the SAG strike. It's a financial thing, but I think always it's the grey area in the middle, isn't it? You know,
what would happen, Andy? You don't have to answer this.
Go on.
But what would happen if you were handed a fantastic script that was generated by AI?
Oh, I'd just do it because I've got no morals.
Good answer.
Do we have your permission to put that in, Andy?
Do it. Yeah. You know what? This is an oversubscribed industry with very, you know, and it's difficult to get work. It's almost like cart before the horse, isn't it? Because you're talking about a script that's then being brought to life by human beings. So the human element is injected into it at that stage. My concern would be, you know, an AI generated, AI played out, you know, piece. You know, in the end, it's going to have an AI audience as well. You know, it's just taking the humans out of the loop entirely. So I think you can humanize things because in the telling of a story, the actor's there to do exactly that. To inject a bit of humanity into it. So I don't think I'd have a massive problem with that. But the writers would hate me for that. Yeah. No, actually, I take that back.
I'm going to have a little poke at that, Andy, and say, so if we were now interviewing a writer, we said, would you have a problem with your script being acted out by AI? What do you think they'd say?
They would say exactly the opposite of me, and they'd have some moral backbone and stand up for me. Yeah, no, I think they probably would, actually. Yeah, I think they probably would. So I take it back. I think you're right. And I think this is about humans relating to other humans. I think that's the basis of all storytelling, really. Storytelling is about the human condition, and it has to be, and I think that it needs to be related by human beings. So as an impoverished actor, I'd probably bite their hands off. But no, you'd hope not, wouldn't you? That you'd just simply stick with human beings. You know, it's a human thing, isn't it? Telling stories. It has to be.
There's another incident that happened to us recently. So, as we mentioned a few times before, myself and Paul being involved in running media companies, making adverts. And the last ad that I did, we needed a voiceover for it. And for the first time in maybe 17 years, I booked a voice for a voiceover session, and I got sent through a contract from the voice's agent. And never once has this happened to me apart from outside of telly, as in for doing adverts. We've just agreed a fee, and there's been an agreement on a fee, and we've agreed usage, and we just pay it.
Sometimes a purchase order at best.
Yeah, sometimes we have to send a
contract coming through.
No.
Get this contract, and half of the page is about how we promise we will not be using his voice for AI.
God.
And that's the first time I've seen it in a contract.
Yeah.
And
I wonder if that's because I'm I sign contracts for voice work quite a lot, but I never actually read them. Look at the figure. Yeah, that'll do.
Starting to see a pattern, Andy.
Yes. How much? Yeah, that'll do. But yeah, no, so yeah, that's probably a massive part of it now, isn't it? You know, it's. But
send Andy a contract saying we can do anything you want with his voice. He won't read it.
But he's already recorded that statement. In all seriousness, no, we shouldn't joke about the ethics around it. In all seriousness,
No,
you know, that's what ChatGPT will tell me later when I put this podcast back through it and go, are there any legal problems with this? And they go, why are you joking about unethically using AI voices? You shouldn't do that.
AI. Oh my God.
But so I phoned the agent because I was like, this is weird. I've never had a contract before. And they're like, we always send contracts. I was like, I've used you about 100 times and you've never sent me a contract.
Yeah.
Is it because of the AI? And they kind of dismissed it. And just go, oh, it's just a standard thing.
Right.
I was actually chatting to the voiceover artist, who shall remain nameless. After we had an hour session and we only really needed about 20 minutes. So we were just chatting. And I was asking what he thought. And he said he'd just been on a job for a very, very big multinational entertainment company.
The biggest one.
One of the biggest ones. One of the biggest ones. And he goes, and he's literally just said to me, I was on a job yesterday and they put a contract in front of me that said, this might be used to train AI. And he goes, I looked at the fee and I signed it.
Yeah.
He says, I'm not bothered.
No, well, he's not bothered about his voice being used in anything.
No.
So he's happy for it to be used for anything. Oh,
I'm sure his agent would say something very different.
I suppose it's a personal choice, isn't it? It's a personal choice.
Yeah.
If you don't care, you don't care. But I mean, personally, I'd struggle with that a little bit. But it depends on how many noughts were behind that figure, really. Do you know what I mean? You know, it's a tricky business to earn a living from. So, you know.
So if we're going to come to consensus about this, we're kind of saying that it's a total mess at the moment. It is really scary what's happening for voice talent.
Yeah.
Yeah. We think there is a model, which isn't too dissimilar, as Paul said. It isn't too dissimilar from the model now.
Yeah.
You get a virtual studio fee and you pay usage.
Yeah.
And then I suppose you're just going to have to trust people not to put words in your mouth and hope to God there's a way to prove that you didn't say that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's signing off the scripts will be important.
Yeah. I think all of that. I think there's a model that, like Paul was saying, I think there's a model already there that would work for this. And it is about trust, and it's about, you know, putting those things in place within an AI, you know, backdrop, you know, and I think you can. I don't think it's rocket science, actually.
The ethics of editing and all the rest of it is an old argument, actually, isn't it? I mean, that's not new.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can easily misrepresent somebody just by taking them out of context or cutting sentences together.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think it's there to be safeguarded. I mean, I don't think it's as difficult as people think it is. And I do think in the end, we're all human beings working within a creative industry. And I think, you know, those safeguards will be in place, because if you don't put it in place for one group, it's coming for you next. You know, and I think people know that, you know, so I do think that actually these safeguards will be in place, because it's in everyone's benefit, really, you know, even the big bosses of the big streaming companies in the end, you know. So I think it will get resolved, all this business.
Okay, so as Andy hands the big people in this business the sandwiches and a roadmap, we're going to go to a sting.
Sting. Sorted. I think we've cured it. Amazing.
Okay, so last little bit. What does the future hold, Andy? 5 years' time, where are we? What's happening?
I'm quite optimistic, really, about certain things, about the specific thing we're talking about today. I'm not sure I'm as optimistic about rising sea levels, but there you go. But I am quite optimistic in that I think that we will find agreement and common ground, and I think that safeguards will be put in place, and everyone will realise that it's just the millennium bug all over again, and it's not as bad as we all think it's going to be. And I think actually AI is a tool to be utilised. I think I think it's actually a very exciting tool, not just in the entertainment industry, but in medicine and in general science. It could be absolutely incredible.
Something to really hold it in while you say tool.
I'm not as acclimatized as I thought I was, or I wouldn't keep using it.
Have you any idea how difficult it is starting a business with someone who using all these new tools every time we say the word? He just pisses himself laughing.
I feel for you, Paul. I feel for you.
We couldn't write digital tools on the website.
I know. We are doing it.
You have to now.
It's ridiculous.
Brilliant.
Right, so I found a new thing.
Yeah, a new thing. Not a new tool, a new thing.
Yes, no, a tool.
Anyway, Back to the Future.
Yeah, ooh.
No, not the film reference, Paul.
All right.
So,
Damn.
So, I think, again, relating it back to music, I kind of don't think it'll be, will AI replace humans in this context? Because you still have orchestras, you still have people playing guitars, God knows why. Still have, humans playing instruments, when you can argue there's no need for them to do that anymore.
Yeah, that's what I was going to mention earlier. I think human enjoyment is a big part of this as well. There are certain things humans enjoy doing, and if they do it well, other humans will respond to it. I think that's, an important thing.
But as you know, like computer music exists alongside it.
It does, yeah.
And occasionally, regularly it surpasses it in popularity.
Yeah.
In other times it drops down, but it just becomes a new thing.
Yeah.
And it kind of, it has it. I don't even know what form it'll take. And as Andy said, listening to that entirely bunch of AIs with voices talking to each other.
Yeah.
It was a surreal experience.
Yeah.
It was kind of enjoyable, but different.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's weird. You're going, I don't know what this is.
Are we going to have a link in the description for that as well?
Yeah.
Good. Yeah, because it is fascinating. That it is madness.
It's the one I sent to you the other day, Paul. You know which one I'm talking about.
Yes.
I think we've linked it in a previous episode.
We'll link it again.
Yeah, we'll link it again. But
yeah.
So you feel positive about the future, Andy? Was that a fair comment?
Yeah, it is actually. I do feel positive about the future, and I don't think AI is the evil monster that people fear it to be. And things evolve, don't they? And there's no getting away from that. And you either ride the wave, or it crashes down on you. And I think you've got to ride the wave really of these things.
Well said.
Thank you.
So finally, Andy, you let us clone your voice.
Yeah.
So we could do this podcast.
Yeah.
Do this episode.
Why am I suddenly quite worried?
No, they don't need to feel worried. I'm just going to do one last playback for you.
Cool. Go on.
Is this you, or is this AI?
This is a new game show. I got a good mammoth this morning. That's what you're eating. And I'll tell you what. I'll tell you the story. I'll tell you what happened. So that's storytelling, isn't it? Visual storytelling is that. Well, I didn't get a mammoth, so that's not me. It's
100%, Andy.
Yeah.
That is you.
What?
I have no idea what we're talking about.
I didn't get a mammoth. What was I on?
I couldn't believe it when I came to see it. I was like,
what? That's madness.
Now, Martin, you did mention earlier you've kind of forgotten which bits you edited. Are you sure it's not one of them?
There you go.
No, full disclosure, I took the original recording, just the WAV file that hadn't been changed, and I dropped it back in. And you said,
yeah.
You said this, Andy.
I got a good mammoth this morning. What? I want to know what I got that morning and how it affected my brain. That's madness. Yeah.
But what I think that goes to prove, though, that you can't tell, can you?
No, I don't think you can. Honestly, I don't.
Not with Andy, anyway. No one knows what he's going on about.
There's never any logic, anyway. You know what? I think AI sounded slightly less egotistical than I did, to be honest with you. I think, do you know what I mean? I liked my AI self.
Well, Andy, it's coming up to the end of your hour. I know you've got a busy life, you. Thank you very much for being our first guest.
I really
Thank you very much,
enjoyed
Andy.
it, guys. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Thank you for having me.
No, but really like your insight there, Andy. It was brilliant to have you on. It was nice that. I enjoyed that.
No,
Thanks.
thank you, guys. No, I enjoyed it. Thank you, guys. Thank you very much.
You can stay on now, Andy, if you want. Me and Paul have just got a little bit to do where we're meant to now it's formatting everything again of what we thought of what Andy said. We get to assess you.
Yes, I'm not going to. Yeah, but I'm not going to stay on for that. I'll jump off and jump in my car and drive.
All right. Well, thanks very much, mate. I appreciate it.
Cheers, Andy.
Cheers, Andy.
Nice
no worries, guys.
Cheers, man.
I don't know how to get out of it. How do I get out of it? How do you do it?
I'll tell you what. I'll hit stop and then I'll start a new recording for me and Paul.
Okay.
So just hit record again.
Okay.
Andy's got to run off, and I just wanted to ask him one question.
Okay.
So we did this recording for this podcast. We cloned this voice for this podcast.
Yeah.
Do you want me to delete your voice model?
No.
Okay.
I trust you. Yeah, no, it's all good. I trust you. Do you know what I mean? I know that you're not going to do anything nefarious with it. So yeah, no, it's cool.
Good.
All right.
Might come in handy, that. You never know.
You never know.
Obviously, we'll let you know, obviously.
Yeah.
Well, I trust you guys. So no, I don't. And that's how much trust and love I have for the pair of you. So
Andy, you're an amazing human being, mate. You're an amazing human being.
Thanks, guys.
Cheers, Andy.
See you soon.
See you, mate.
Ta-da.
Bye. Okay, that was our first guest, Andy. Andy? Paul.
that was our
first guest, Andy.
Yeah.
Paul.
It was. Well, I think.
It's good having somebody else on.
Yeah, it is. We should do it more often.
It's interesting to hear his perspective. It's not what I thought it was going to be. To be honest.
Yeah.
I thought it'd be dead against it.
Yeah.
But, you know...
There is a I think as soon as you go, you could earn some money while you sleep.
Yeah.
Becomes interesting.
I like that.
Yeah. I mean, I'd love that, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, go on.
Well, you know, hence why we're doing this, Paul.
Correct.
Yeah. I just wanted... So at this point, we're meant to do a teaser then for the next episode.
Right.
But we had a chat this week, didn't we?
We did.
And so if we hadn't had a chat, the episode would probably be... Next time, join us when we're going to talk about how the hell we went about making a website for our new business, FluxQX.
Which sounds like the worst podcast ever.
It does sound like the worst podcast ever, but we were talking about doing that. So we decided to try something else, didn't we, Paul?
Yeah, we did.
What's that?
We are going to bring you the latest and greatest AI news in a very conversational way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is our first... this word is hated in my household now. But this is our first proper pivot.
Uh-huh.
My missus hates that word. You stop saying pivot. We just stop saying pivot.
Okay, you're right. Let's not mention pivot again. We're going to change things.
You know, when you think something's not working, I give it a go, I think. See what happens. So next week's episodes will either be one about the website,
which will be the best podcast ever.
Yeah. Or it's going to be something completely different.
Yeah. Yeah.
But anyway, it'll be out next Wednesday. The other thing I should say, actually. So what date is it today? It's the 21st of September.
Yeah.
And I don't think this episode will actually go out until the 4th of October.
Right.
So if you'd listened to this on the day it came out, it's the 4th of October. We recorded this on the 21st, and this is one of the other reasons in fact, everything's moving so quickly.
quickly, yeah.
Kind of feel like being 2-3 weeks behind.
Yeah.
Feels like we're missing stuff.
It's an age. Really is.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to try and do it, and we'll have some difficulties because we're probably going to try and record on a Monday or a Tuesday and release on a Wednesday.
Yep.
That's what we're going to try and do. So from the, what's 7 + 4? 11. From the 11th of September.
October.
From the 11th of October, yeah, we're going to be trying doing it weekly and they should be more current. But you'll only be listening to this from the 4th of October, so that'll be next week. Not confusing.
Not confusing at all. But anyway, yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. Well, we still don't have a sign-off.
No.
So, bye, Paul.
Bye. See you next time. Bye.
See you next time. Bye.